Hello everyone, Nika here with your daily neuro nugget. You guys are so beautiful. You guys are glowing today. Beautiful day outside. And of course, I feel like I look like Fez from that 70s show. That's his name, Fez, right? Maybe it's the shirt or the stripes or something. Yeah. So we have a lot to talk about today because if you have not watched the Nancy Grace video, well, I sacrificed myself for all of you guys and watched part of that interview, which was so crazy to see Nancy Grace basically cut off an attorney that did not agree with her in the interview. She had all these attorneys, they all sided with her. The one that did not, she was like, okay, all right, be quiet, moving on. So this to me shows how closed-minded she is. She's fossilized in the brain, she's calcified. She's not open to new information or other perspectives. That's very important because it's showing us, in my opinion, that she is heavily biased. Meaning what? Meaning that if you are that close-minded, even if I present new information, new evidence to her, she's not going to accept it. She is not going to embrace it. Okay? Why? Because she is set on her ways. Now that reminds me of old people who are not willing or they're incapable of adapting to new situations. You see, they don't do well. They don't do well in the world. Whereas you compare old people who are willing to adapt and embrace new things, they fare much better, right? So Nancy Grace, please be open-minded. Again, I really would urge you guys to not watch that because, I mean, unless you want to, but it was just, ugh, what a waste of time. Now, let's talk about the tea of the day. I did not use any heat today. For this tea, because I did not use any heat, I basically took the peels of a pineapple and let it sit in water for all day. So there is a pineapple taste in this water, room temperature water, but normally you want to simmer it. The reason I did not was because I don't have a heat-proof mug and I don't want to burn my fingers. But thank you, because there was a beautiful person yesterday who gave me $20 in my Cash App. So guess what I'm gonna do this weekend? I'm gonna order or go look for a heat-proof glass mug so I can show you guys the teas. So thank you. I really appreciate the $20. And I'm really excited to get a heat-proof glass mug so you guys can see the teas. So this is what it looks like. Love the taste. You don't need any sweetener whatsoever. Very pineapple-y. That's the only way I can describe it. And this is really high in bromelain. And bromelain has been shown to be an amazing anti-inflammatory. So I'm not a doctor. I am not a doctor. This is not medical advice. I will not be sued. This is not medical advice. Do your own research. But bromelain, studies show, can lower inflammatory markers, which have been associated with things like osteoarthritis, asthmas, a whole bunch of issues, including cancer, by the way, and even chronic sinus infections. So if you have had this tea, but again, it's so much better if you boil it. And if you boil or simmer the pineapple leaves, the color and taste is gonna be so much better. You'll get a yellowish color and it's gonna taste a lot more like pineapples. That being said, I always use the peels of organic pineapples because that's what I prefer. So cheers. Let's talk about Nancy Grace and her horrible interview. Because the first thing that I noticed was that she can't wait. She said she cannot wait for a jury of 12 regular people to see what they think about Brian Kohberger wearing gloves on the day that he was arrested from like 2 to 4 in the morning. She goes on to say, who wears gloves at 2 to 4 in the morning? He's such a weirdo. And that's the problem, guys, okay? Regular people, let's be honest, a lot of regular people are not that open-minded, right? So regular people sometimes are very quick to jump to conclusions and say, that is unusual behavior. But when you take somebody who maybe has a background in psychology, for example, or the sciences, for example, or just has spent a lot of time around people who are different, then we have a different perspective, right? Because, for example, a regular person may not know that there are people who have OCD tendencies, or they are germaphobes, or they may be autistic, or, you know, on the spectrum, or they may have ADD, or they may have extremely high IQs or very low IQs, or have food anxieties, food contamination anxieties, things like that exist. But a lot of people don't understand these things, and some people have not even heard about these things. So that's my fear, that 12 regular people may not be aware, may not understand personalities and human behavior. So often when people are unaware that these things exist or how they work, they are very quick to judge a person as weird, as an outcast. And now all of a sudden somebody's weird behavior makes them guilty. That's why a lot of innocent people who may be on the spectrum, for example, are often found guilty because of their weird behavior, not because they actually did it. So scary, right? That's why regular people, I want people who are educated in human behavior to be judging. That would be the goal, but I know, I'm dreaming. Now, a lot of people have said that the community his parents live in, all the trash has to be separated. And in fact, some people have said that this community is so strict that the trash can lid has to be all the way down to prevent animals from going in there and dragging things out and then into nature. Meaning what? Meaning that if that's the case, then you cannot shove one more bag into the trash can, right? Because then the can would be open potentially, and maybe there are fines associated with that. So these are rules, and some of these rules I found, and they're available to read online for anybody who wants to read them. A lot of communities have them. There are some strict rules regarding trash as well. I have to separate trash in the area I'm in, and actually the recycling people come a different day. So let me know the trash rules where you live, because they can differ drastically depending on where you live. Now, he was wearing gloves while he was separating the trash, and then he was throwing trash in a neighbor's can, allegedly. So a regular person would say, this is weird. This is so weird. Who does that? Who wears gloves when they separate trash? Who even separates trash? And then on top of that, why is he dropping things off in his neighbor's trash can? Weird. Guilty. But a person who is more open-minded, and I'm going to say that's not a regular person, just because most people are not open-minded, would be more open to asking questions. And questions, they open our minds, because maybe he was wearing gloves because he is a germaphobe, or he is OCD, or he was cold. Why was he throwing trash in a neighbor's can? Well, maybe his trash can was full. And if it is true that the community standards of the trash bins was so strict, well, that would make sense why he would go and use a neighbor's can. And I've actually done that myself. Like for Christmas, my trash bins get very, very full because I have a lot of friends and a lot of family. We have a massive party, and there's lots of gifts, lots of food, lots of trash. Whereas my neighbor has no family, so he lets me use his bin. Is that normal? I think it's normal. So it's good to remain open-minded. Now, some people have also stated that his sister was allegedly freaked out to see him wearing gloves. But I'm like, excuse me, because I am not aware of any interviews his sisters have ever done with news channels or media at all. So how do people assume that she was freaked out? Again, to me, that is pure speculation, and of course, heavily biased, and maybe, just maybe, an outright lie. So have you guys seen any interviews that the sisters have done? And where are people getting that information that she was allegedly freaked out? Because I've not heard her ever talking to the media. Have you? And if you have, feel free to send me the link. Now, the trash separation, the glove wearing, it doesn't make him innocent. It doesn't. And in a lot of people's eyes, regular people's eyes who are closed-minded, makes them look guilty from the get-go. But wearing gloves doesn't make you guilty. It doesn't make you innocent, but it doesn't make you guilty. So his aunt, when the case first started, had actually mentioned that he has severe OCD. These are her words, allegedly. And she also mentioned that he was extremely paranoid about germs and food cross-contamination because he is a vegan. So I believe his aunt had mentioned he even had a separate set of pots and pans because he didn't want to use the pots and pans his parents used. Because why? Because, well, there was potentially traces of animal products in those pans. So he had his own for his vegan meals. So that, of course, makes me also wonder, what kind of vegan would be comfortable with seeing a bloody, gory mess? Okay, you can't even stand the sight of a steak. You think a vegan can stand the stench and the gore and the mess of 4 unalived bodies? I am going to say probably not. But coming back to the Nancy Grace video, okay, there was a very stunning attorney, okay? I dig the fact that Mark Tate, in the interview, he actually stood up to Nancy Grace, and I think it takes a very smart man who has a backbone to stand up to Nancy Grace, especially because we know she has so many viewers. I've noticed that. Again, all of the attorneys that she had, they all sided with her, but not Mark Tate. Mark Tate said, I'm going to call her out because Nancy Grace keeps saying, can you imagine? Oh my gosh, what kind of person gets arrested by the FBI at 2 to 4 in the morning and is wearing gloves? First of all, who's even awake at 2 to 4 in the morning and then is wearing gloves? How weird is that? And Mark Tate jumps in and says, well, no one checks on you, Nancy, to see what you're wearing at 2 to 4 in the morning. Do they? And he's right, because let's be real. I'm going to be honest. I'm weird, guys. I've told you this before, okay? The ADD, the IQ thing, the weirdness. I'm weird. Simple. And I do weird things. And when I'm not working 2 jobs, I am a night owl. Naturally, I've always been a night owl all of my life. And I was that person who would volunteer while I was in the military to work the night shift. I literally worked the night shift, 3rd shift, from like 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. for multiple years, like back to back, because I love it. I think it's amazing. It's quiet. It's peaceful. And when I wasn't working, well, I was up also cleaning the house. So part of me can kind of relate to Mr. Kohberger because it's so peaceful to be up cleaning at 3 in the morning. Is that weird? Yes, I know it's weird. Why? Because all my roommates, colleagues, etc. have told me so. This is why we need people who are open-minded, who are not regular. And by not regular, I mean not average. Okay, average people go to sleep at average times and have average jobs. There's nothing wrong with average. It's fine. It's average. But people who fall at the ends of the average spectrum, by the way, if you fall at the ends of an average spectrum, raise your hand, let me know, and leave an alien emoji down below. I like aliens. I like alien emojis. And for us weirdos, I say it with love, by the way, so don't get all, ugh. For us weirdos, it makes it very difficult to have to explain our actions to average people because they don't understand, okay? They live an average life. They go to work from 9 to 5 and then they come home and feed the dog or the kids and ta-da, that's it. When I try to explain to people what I do for a living, how many hours I work, when I clean my house, what my hobbies are, they freak out a little bit and they're like, but why? But why would you do all these irregular things? And it's hard to describe. People don't get it. So imagine if what Kohberger's aunt said was true, that he has OCD and he's a germaphobe and he has this fear of food cross-contamination because he's a vegan. Do you think the regular person is going to understand? No, they are not. They are not. So, it is important that we teach ourselves about human behavior, guys. We have the internet. There is no excuse to be a closed-minded individual anymore. We have the internet. And even if you don't have a master's in psychology, Google or DuckDuckGo. Whatever you need to do to educate yourself, okay? Not having a master's is not a good excuse anymore. Why? Because you can easily DuckDuckGo, what does an OCD person look like? The DSM. Go to the DSM. Okay, what does germophobia look like? What does food anxiety or food cross-contamination look like? The internet is there. So, people who jump to conclusions are dangerous. They are dangerous individuals. Be very careful. Closed-minded people are dangerous people. At this point, people who are saying he is guilty because he was wearing gloves while separating the trash, people that are saying he's guilty because of that, they might as well be taking the freaking Constitution and flushing it down the toilet. And I've said that 10,000 times by now, maybe not on here, but out in the world, because we need to be 100% sure he is guilty if we are going to unalive him per the state. We don't just jump to conclusions and unalive people. Is this a freaking witch hunt? Are we really back in that era? I thought this was 2024. But when we look at history, it seems like we have not come very far. Disappointing? Yes. Honest? Yes. Enough of my ranting. Why? Because I have to go live my irregular life now. So, you guys have an amazing weekend. Let me know down in the comments if you like this video. Leave a thumbs up. If you don't like this video, leave a thumbs up. If you hate this video, leave a thumbs up. Leave a thumbs up. Oh, leave an emoji. I don't know how to describe this irregularity of mine. I have this deep obsession with emojis. They just release a dopamine surge in my brain. Is that the ADD? I don't know. I don't know what it is. There's something about emojis that just, ta-da, make my day. So, that is it for the day. Do you guys like my 70s show shirt? And honestly, a little secret between you and I know nothing about sports. Like, I don't. So, if you're going to ask me questions about the Green Bay Packers, I'm not going to be able to answer them. Somebody in my family they're a very big fan of these people, but I like the color green. I think it brings out my eyebrows. So, is there a sport I like? Like to watch a sport. Do I like watching sports? I don't think I've ever watched a sport. I'm sorry. Is that un-American? I like doing sports, participating in sports, or doing sports. How do you say? Sorry, English is not my first language. Okay, I have to go DuckDuckGo that now. Okay. ADD can look like this. Me playing with my hair, thinking about 1,000 things in a minute. Yes, this video has been over. You can click off now. And it can look like massive bursts of energy all at once where people think you're on substances, but you're not. It's just ADD. And I just read an article today about how ADD people and Also, people on the spectrum can sometimes look a lot younger than their peers. I found that very intriguing. So if you are somebody who is neurodivergent, let me know down in the comments. Also, ADD people, a lot of us go on tangents all of the time. It's like a seed, the original thought, and then the actual tree, the original thought is coming out, and then the branches that are like 10,000 random thoughts. And sometimes I'll start with the seed and go straight to the branch, but you guys can't connect the dots. So you guys jump to conclusions. Don't do that. A lot of people have been jumping to conclusions. They fill in the gaps. You're filling the gaps in like Othram is. I literally gave you 19 picograms. How the hell did you get to 150? Don't do that. Just ask me instead of assuming. Okay, that is the right thing to do. You're welcome. Life lesson. Don't jump to conclusions. That life lesson, I should charge you guys for that. It's so basic, but it will get you so far and you will thank me. All right, I really should go. Bye. Bye-bye. Did I kiss you guys already? I think